Colorado Gold Camp. Winter is upon us. I'm always on the hunt. I'm a true treasure hunter, and just recently had shoulder surgery, so I can't do a whole lot of digging. So this winter's one of my projects is to find Colorado arrowheads, and I was just tracing float of Jasper up a hillside, and I just found it awfully curious. They're rounded, river cobbles, but hard, nappable material. And this area, I haven't found any Jasper in, and this one hillside had Jasper, and I was following it up and around, and then thinking, I was following a ravine and then hilltops and what have you, and just trying to recreate, if I was a native person, where I would set up camp, where I would hunt, where I might position myself. And right here is my destination point. It's a vantage area that has a 360-degree view looking down on water, and you can see enemy and animals and prey coming. And here I came across my first two pieces, so here we have it. Let's see, so here's a small tiny piece of this Jasper. This is a black piece that I found, I put in my pocket. And then I came across this guy. It's arrowhead shaped. I wasn't wanting to be optimistic and think it's something that it's not, but it turns out that I think my suspicions are correct. The closer I look at this, let's see, right here, you can see some very small napped corners. So I think this is a preformed arrowhead. And then, my first, and I haven't pulled it out yet. I just know it's real. So look at this guy. Okay. He's loose. Oh, that's awesome. This is my new area. First Colorado arrowhead here in an area that I had kind of prospected in my brain. Looks like the tip's broken off. This is probably some sort of knife, but it's truly amazing. We will check back in if I find anything else. Here's that my gold prospecting and gem prospecting skills are paying off. This is awesome. So here's a little shard. Looks like a broken piece. Chances are they're sitting up here making arrowheads and tools. But I picked this guy up, and then right over here, look at this. Beautiful, kind of pink peaches color. Oh, that's a beauty. Look at that. So, it's a shard, but man, is this cool. Alright, I'll be back. So we've been finding all kinds of little preforms, and I'm not being, hopeful. They really are. There's a stash of preformed arrowhead shapes and tool shapes, and I'm keeping those. They're kind of blanks. They're really neat. And then here, I haven't touched them yet. I have a scattering of, I see 3 shards so far, and let's share it with you. This little pocket here, and you can actually see here's still one little shard of dirty flint. Here's one I missed. Ooh, that's a clear one. But regardless, I picked all these pieces. This one's an almost full workable tool, has a notch. Looks like the tip's broken off. But I have a theory that these really thin, super thin flakes are acting like sail gold in a river, flood gold essentially. So they were all roughly the same size, super thin, and we're in a relatively arid area, and when there's monsoon rains, the ground is so dry that it can't absorb the water. And when that happens, we get a surface rill wash. And lighter materials, silt and sand and, you know, debris, detritus, you know, stuff like this is carried with the water, as well as really thin, flat flakes of this, you know, flint napping material. And here I just picked up another little piece. But regardless, I think the material's flowing down slope, and since it was all in this little pool, you know, this little depression, this bush and this hump is probably acting as a riffle, depositing those lighter fragments here. It's pretty interesting. Even hunting for arrowheads is similar to prospecting. Now I'm going to investigate this really odd depression. You can see the snow in its perfect circle. There's a few rocks apparently taken out of the hole and put on the edge here. There's a few there. Let's see, there's one over there. I wonder, and this is a perfect vantage, I'm not going to show you, but this could have possibly been a teepee ring. Scanning the perimeter of this weird depression, I found one red, round, bead-looking thing. It's in my pocket now. Here, where are you? I think we have something. Let's see. Ooh. Whoa. So that's definitely, oops, let's zoom out. A napped piece. Actually looks intact. Oh, maybe this side broke off. It's probably some kind of scraping tool, or not quite sure. But let's keep looking. And different red spear point. How cool is that? Out here, I'm having to train my eyes. Depending on what I'm looking for, you know, I gotta ingrain that in my brain. And primarily, what I'm looking for here is different shapes, colors of stone that's abnormal to the area, sheen, anything with a sharp cut edge. Here, what do you see in this frame? So first, we have a triangle. Let's see what that is. That's just a regular old rock, nothing. But here we have sheen and sharp angles. And what do we have? So that's certainly a tooled, broken, probably a knife, I'd imagine. But there you have it. I've come across another anomaly here. You can see the grass kind of creates a circle, and animals have been tromping in the middle. So let's take a look. So the first thing that I notice is that the ground is soft, much softer than the surrounding soils. What the heck is this? Could this be some kind of old pottery? Possibly? Huh. We'll take those home and examine them. Seems that this depression is full of tool making materials. Here's a really nice colorful hard piece, you know, maybe to make jewelry out of. And I found this little purple shard here. Look at this. Oops. Uh-oh. I dropped it. And I was looking at the camera. Oh, there it is. My hands are just freezing. Look at that little flake. Weird. So I'm gonna keep searching this area. But again, I'd mentioned that the ground is really soft. It's really soft. I mean, I stepped here and I sink right in. If anybody has an idea of what this spot could possibly be, please let me know. This area keeps producing. It's very interesting. There's what appeared to be a teepee ring, and then that soft, here's a little flake, and then that soft, very soft circular area is slightly raised just outside of the teepee ring. Here we go. Here's a little piece, shard, and then look at this tiger of a crazy tool. It almost seems like, you know, they were practicing with different sorts of rocks, stone, quartzes. Now what the heck was this? You know, some kind of, I mean, super sharp cutting implement. But regardless, it's amazingly cool just to think, you know, whose hands were holding this rock, admiring it and using it as a daily tool, you know, however many hundreds of years ago. I know there were Utes in this area. I'll have to do some more research to see what other peoples were known. This is the last hurrah. It's cold. It's right after the sun went down. The surface of the ground pretty much froze. So anyway, heading back to the truck, and here we go. Some more. Alright, where are you? Found this little guy. So it's a really weird little point tool, and it's not broken. It's a solid piece. Some kind of little cutting mabobber. And then look at this. Ching, ching, ching. You can see the notches. Ah, it's broken. Man, though, that's so cool. It's very nice. Well, we're gonna have to prospect this area some more and look into these teepee holes and this other depression, which is actually, we're right below it again. It's right there. So chances are both of those anomalies are related to Native Americans. Well, I'll touch base and show you guys all what I picked up today. And, well, we found a couple other cool things. There's a beaver skull with teeth and bones, and this guy, look at that. That's a nice, I think a big old elk skull. Pretty cool. Just got back home from the expedition, treasure hunting in the Rockies, and I'm going to show you what I found today. So I first came across this Jasper-y rock here, and there was a hillside littered with it, and it was somewhat of an anomaly in the area, so I decided to follow it, see if I can find any good specimens for cabbing or cutting. But regardless, thought it'd be a good material. It tends to have a conchoidal fracture, which can be worked and napped and made into arrowheads and tools. So anyway, I followed this float up onto a bluff, and then, you know, used my knowledge and, you know, had decided or looked at where, you know, one would hunt or position themselves and or camp, get out of the weather, yet still have visibility to their surroundings. And it led me to what I believe was a Tipi Circle and possibly an old fire pit of theirs. But anyway, so I followed this. Started finding smaller shards of it that somewhat looked worked. You know, pieces like this, which on the edge, it does look like someone has napped and chipped at it. And I'm not really trying to reach too much, but this one fits in your hand pretty well and could be a scraping tool of sorts. So here we have it. So nothing truly spectacular, but I'm definitely on the right trail. Here's this pottery looking shard thing. And then, you know, these typically would be a stretch, but I found that Tipi circle and, you know, finally some real flint and napped pieces. So a lot of these I think are actual preforms to make arrowheads. Like this piece, you know, it's the right shape, and that's definitely a point notch. And then on this one, you know, you have the right shape, and then you can see in this crease here, that's been slightly worked. So all of these are preform pieces that I found. This was up there as well. It hadn't been touched, but it's the right type of material. So it's basically a blank to make arrowheads. This also possibly could be a scraper tool. Same with this. Some rocks I picked up. And then here we get into unmistakable worked pieces. And this was all just this afternoon here. You know, possible spear point or failed spear point. You know, and it's crazy to see the variety of stone and materials that they're working from this one area. Some of them are local and others absolutely are not. Very cool. Well, I'm gonna have to go back and explore this place some more. Here's this cool orange piece. And this appears to be fully intact. Now I don't know what this would be used for. Maybe some kind of fine cutting tool. Here's a broken knife point, probably. Pretty neat. Little purple guy. And then, oh, when I pulled this out of the ground, I thought it was a full one. But regardless, this is just truly amazing. It's my first real point in this particular area, and it gives me tremendous hope. Very cool. This little green stone piece of, it's like gem olivine. It's wild. This was also quite gemmy. Not sure what they were trying to do with this. It's a possible notch. More shards. And then this was the first big piece I found. Boy, was that cool. Wish I had its tip, but you know, that's unmistakable, unarguable. Pretty darn neat. And then here are these little balls I found, which are quite curious. Now I don't know if they had collected these with the idea to make beads or what, but they're just, they're curious. Someone had brought them and left them there. There's no other explanation. I haven't found any other round beads or balls like that anywhere. So this is one of the first pieces I found. Again, it's a blank. You know, typically people have pieces like this or hand tools, which they think are tools, however they're not. But this led me to the rest of this. And the reason I thought I was correct was because on this one spot, right there, you can see that it's been worked, and quite meticulously. Just in that one spot they started shaping it and gave up. But anyways, this one piece with the clue right there led me to discovering this area more or less, along with following this trail. This might be a reach, but it was in the same area, and it's possibly, you know, a big old hand scraper tool. Who knows, but this edge looks work to me, as does here. You know, this piece is broken off. But it does sit, you know, perfectly in my hand, and, you know, could use it to clean out furs or scrape a bowl. Who knows what? You know, it's possible. Chances are, for being in the area, probably is a hand scraper tool.